Hello and welcome to our latest video. My name is Sean Donahue and today we're going to go over a build that we did in October 2020, and that build was the now infamous Ryzen build. We've had well over 7,000 views on the original video and I'm honoured to have got that many people to have watched it. I've had lots of comments. Never thought I'd get that many people to watch it, to be fair, and to be honest, I never thought we'd get as many as 400 subscribers to the channel, which it's fantastic. I think we're pushing 450 now, and I don't think it'll be long before 500. So that's, you know, it's fantastic. And if you're new to this channel and you're new to watching this, please subscribe, and let's get as many people watching as we can. So this video is an update on the Ryzen video. Now, I'd have expected you guys watching this to have watched the original video, because we're not going to go over the whole thing again. We're just going to go over the heatsink fan and this new piece of plastic and what it's for. So those of you that have watched social media, you know, watch us on social media, would have seen me post this the other day asking what could this be used for. So in this video I'm going to explain that, and I'm also going to go over the heatsink fan and how to install this new system. And also we'll go over some benchmarks just to see the heat, you know, where the heat, what temperature we're running inside the case and what the CPU temperature is. So when we done the original video, I think we had the Ryzen chip running at around about 67, 68 degrees, might edge to 70, but it was running within its temperature parameters. There's two things that if I was really niggly I'd say I wasn't happy with. One was the noise, which isn't that noisy to be fair, but one was the noise and the other was the heat within the case itself. So the CPU was running within the parameters, but the actual case was running quite hot inside. So I always wanted to go over that, and really I have to thank Chris Hearn, who's one of the guys that have bought a case, watches the videos, and they do their own videos as well, him and his son, basically I have to thank him because he seeded this in my mind way back when we done the Max Tank build, because we didn't have a rear I/O shield, and he mentioned that why don't you get one 3D printed, and it stuck in my mind, and I thought I do want to get one 3D printed, and I probably will do that, but I don't know anyone that can design it, but also I don't know anyone that can print it at the moment, and I didn't want to go down the route. Chris could have printed it for me because he has a 3D printer, but I thought I shelved it, but it's been in my mind for a while. And for another reason, what I'm not going to go into on this video, I needed to get this 3D, I needed to find a 3D printer and a designer in my area for some other project I'm doing that we'll cover on another video. And when he produced what I needed him to produce, it was fantastic, and I thought, you know what, this will work for the Ryzen build. So what he's produced for me is basically a way of getting heat from the chip to the outside of the case, bypassing the inner part of the case, which means that the case itself will be a lot cooler. But not only that, the chip will run at several degrees cooler as well. I think it's benchmarked it around about 61 degrees, whereas in the original Ryzen build it was in the upper 60s to 70 degrees. So it's the chip's a lot cooler, but so's the case. There's a few more things that are good. I'll show you the actual fan. So this is a Dynatron A18. It's rather beefy, rather chunky. So it's quite expensive, this, but I think it's worth every penny. But if I go like that, you can see it's an encased fan. It's a turbo fan. So if I turn this around that way, you can see that's the output so the heat will be coming out through here. If we go, I don't think you can see the fan inside, but it's encapsulated, and that's very good, because that's another thing that's really good about using this system. We haven't got moving parts, so when we build it, you haven't got to worry. Even though I expect you guys to carry out the cable tidiness, you know, and keep it all nice and neat inside, but there's no chance of the wires catching a moving fan because there's no moving parts. It's all encapsulated, so that's good. So that's another good point. I'm just thinking in my head the other good points. Noise. if you're not running this, so if you settle this up how we're going to do it in this video, it's close to silent. You can't even hear it, and it only picks up speed when you start actually using the processor more. So if you're gaming, or if you're using an intense application that's going to be it's going to use a lot of the CPU, then the fan will start up. But again, it's still not as noisy as the old fan that we've got in there, the ID30. So that's another reason why this build's going to be really good. Let me show you the plastic that the guys in Portsmouth done for me. So if you look at that end, you can see it's square, and the reason for that is because we're going to slot that into so the square piece is basically, think of that as the existing fan that we have. So we don't need that fan, we take the fan out, so that slots in, and then the other end is the end that marries up with the port here, so that will basically marry up with that on the case. So to show you briefly how this fits in, so if we're looking at the case like this, it just slots straight in. It's absolutely, it's just great. I'm trying not to use the word fantastic, because I do use it quite a lot. But but you can see it. You can put the finger guard back in its place, and it works really well. Absolutely fantastic. So the company that I use, they're called, to do the design and the print, they're called Triple Axis, and they're in Southsea, which is near where we're in Fareham, so we're not too far away from them. But they designed it so you can, if you want one of these and you're in the UK, then you could phone those guys up, and they will print one of these for you and send it off, because we don't have to get involved in this. So I've actually got the file. So what we're going to do is we're going to put that on the website, but it's going to take a few days to get that up on the website. So for those of you that want one of these straight away, if you email us at info@myretrocomputer.com, I will reply and stick the file on. That's, so you'll get the file straight away. But what we do is, I'm trying to keep this video as brief as I can, and I've probably been rambling on now for close to 10 minutes. But let's get into the build, and I can show you how to build this, which is very simple. So I'm going to pick this up before we put the heatsink in on the original video. So we've got the thing all built up. The next, I'm going to go on and put the heatsink and fan into its place. So let's move on to that right now. Okay, so we're picking this up at about 14 minutes 50 seconds. We've just installed the Ryzen chip on the original build in October 2020. So the next thing is we're going to install the heatsink and fan, and I've wanted to go over this for a long time, because when I put the thermal grease on, or thermal paste, whatever you want to call it, when I actually put it on last time, it was the worst ever method of putting thermal grease on. A lot of people said I put way too much on. I did it completely wrong. I should have researched it before I actually did the video, and I didn't. I have this time. So I wanted to go over it, and the best method for putting this on, there's lots of different ways, is to put a round dollop in the middle, and they call it the P, and it's the best way to sort of like, it spreads out the best. So I've got a little dollop in the middle. Now be careful that you don't put too much on and it spills over, because this paste, if you get the really good stuff, is it's conductive, so therefore it can cross, short circuit your motherboard and blow your motherboard up. So make sure you do that right. So the next thing we're going to do is this kit we have here. It's only two parts, so it's only made for the Ryzen chip. So we have the base plate and we have the top half. So the first thing I'm going to do is put the base plate underneath. Now it's got sort of like it's sticky, so when you put this in place, it should stick to the underside of the board. And then the next thing we're going to do is, this Dynatron has an arrow on it there, and we want the arrow to be facing towards the M.2 drive. So I'm going to put this over, I'm going to let it squash down. You can feel that squeeging out, and then I'm going to locate the screw holes. I might have to lift this up to do this. I feel it sliding now. I didn't want to slide it too much. There we go. Right, one. I'm just going to do them up a few turns to make sure they're all locating. And once I've got them all located, I will do them all up. The best thing to do with this is do them corner to corner, I think. And these have got springs on them, so they're spring loaded, so you just do them up until they won't turn anymore, and then it's tight. It's pretty good, it's pretty tight. And then we can put the fan into position, the wires, so I'll just locate them down there. So what we'll do now is you can carry on and watch the original build from then on. We'll come back in a minute when we're actually installing this into the case. Okay, so we're picking up on the Ryzen video at 32 minutes from October, and now we're about to install the optical drive mini SATA cable. But before we do that, what we're going to do is put this new piece of plastic in that obviously wasn't in the last video. So what we're going to do is, this is very difficult, so pay attention, it's very tricky. So what you do is you offer it over the fan housing and just drop it in place like that. It's so simple. Very happy about that. And then you just put the finger guard, slot that in. So that's about the simplest thing ever. I'm chuffed a bit at how easy that is to fit. So yes, the next thing we're going to do is fit the optical drive mini SATA cable. So we'll just make sure it's round the right way. Now again, in the Ryzen build, this is an optical, you know, a DVD drive, but in here we've still got the stock hard drive adapter. The next thing we're going to do is do some cable tidy management. So I think what we want to do is, we've got this new piece of plastic, we might as well make use of it and maybe put one of these cable clamps here. So let's do that. Keep it really nice and neat and square. Up there like that. And then we will route these cables on top. Nice cable management. Now the good thing is, obviously there's no moving parts anymore, but that doesn't stop us wanting to do a neat build. I can't abide cables tangled up around the build. It's got to be nice and neat. Now I've got a pair of pliers, special pliers. I don't know what they're normally used for, but I've bought them especially for cutting cable grips, zip cable things. Anyway, so that's pretty neat. It's in there, it's nice and neat. I like that. The next thing we're going to do is join the Molex connectors together, and we'll put them in there. Now I can put that there because they're not needed for anything else. We'll sort something out with that in a sec. So now what we've got to sort out is where the SATA data cable connects to. So I think it'll go in there. Now it's bending round really nice. I like that. So again, we're going to put a cable clamp there, and we're going to put the cable tie in it ready, because it's easier to do that than try and thread it through afterwards. But just make sure you get it around the right way, that is. So I'm going to put this in the best I can in the centre between the two grill bits, push it down so that wonderful 3M glue takes. Yeah, I think that's good. I want to do the zip up, the cable zip, cable tie, whatever you want to call it. And as I'm doing it up, I want those cables to stay on top of one another like they are now. Again, that's a really nice, we like springy cables. and that's a nice springy cable there. The case might, the top half might bow that down a little bit, but that's nice, we like that. So now we've got this SATA power SATA bit here. I don't know what to do with that. Let's feed it underneath and see if it goes somewhere naturally. Again, I'm making this up as I go along. I haven't practiced this. I've just decided to come straight out and do it. So you're watching me trying to find a good place for this to go. And again, after a while, these cables will want to stay in those positions. It's called rigidity or something like that. I can't remember the exact name for it, but I'm just gonna the only thing that we've got to worry about now is these cables stay away from these case fixing points, because we don't want a cable to accidentally go over the base of one and then you put a screw through it. So this one thing we don't want to do, and that's the only thing I think, looking at this build now, that we've got to worry about really, and everything's, you know, doesn't want to go anywhere near it. So I'll do this up, happy with that, use my special cutters, and then you can pick back up on how to finish off from the previous video on the top of for the top. But that is how this new system's going to work. So you can see heat comes from the heatsink, sucks up through the fan, and it blows it out through the case. And then we've got case ventilation. We've got all the cuts, all the holes through the bottom of the case, side of the case, top of the case has got some ventilation on it as well. So we're relying on natural ventilation to help with this fan. But that's the build that you see. We'll move on now. So if you need to watch the end of the previous Ryzen video to see how you put all the rest together, we'll pick up testing it now so you can see the temperatures. Okay, so as before, we've got it on heavy load and we're running at 58 Celsius, which is 10 degrees cooler than the Ryzen build that we did last autumn. So that's really good. I mean, we're running 82% on the GPU, the CPU's 100%. Before last year when we did it, we were running Half-Life 2, but I think it speaks for itself. It's 10 degrees cooler. At the moment, it's running flat. The fan is running quite fierce. I mean, it's probably near flat out, and it's not that noisy. It's no noisier than what it was last year with the Ryzen build. But when you're not using it for intense applications, you can't even hear it. It's silent. So it only comes up when it needs, you know, when the CPU needs extra cooling. So it's really good. So the next thing we're going to test is we'll do Assassin's Creed Odyssey, because I like the graphics on that. So let's come back with that. Right, so we've got Assassin's Creed running, and we're averaging around about the same. I've updated the graphics on the Ryzen chip. They were outdated, so I've upgraded them to the latest graphics drivers, and I thought that might have made it a little bit better, but it's basically the same as what it was last year when we tested it. We've got around about 30 frames a second. This is on low settings, 1080p. It's playable, very playable. It's really good. So the Ryzen chip, as it was then, with this setup, it hasn't changed at all. The difference is the temperatures. So the temperatures running this 59 to 60 degrees, which is nearly 10 degrees cooler than the other build that we did. So this is fantastic. I've only got one probe inside, so I'm probing the Ryzen chip. So the temperature inside is, the actual probe is just above the CPU, so just above the new cooling fan that we've got in there, and it's around about 40 Celsius, so it's a lot cooler. So that's the hottest part of this case, is running at 40 Celsius inside. So when I touch this, it's so much cooler than what it was before. I mean, it's cold. You can't even feel anything. All the heat is coming out through the back exhaust port. I'll call it that now. It sounds good, doesn't it? So it's far better. So I hope you've enjoyed this this little video. I hope it's short. I don't know now. I haven't added all the little sections up to see how long it is, but I hope it's quite a short video. So you can see the. I think this is the best you'd ever get it. This is such a good system, yeah. And I bet some of you are thinking there's room to overclock the Ryzen chip now because we've got it cooler. You know, you've got it's nearly 10 degrees cooler than what it was, so you've got a little bit of leeway there to overclock it. I wouldn't recommend it, but I'm sure some of you would do that anyway. But yeah, so this is a great system. Even now, you know, I know they've brought out a new chip now, but it's great. It's fantastic. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please subscribe to our channel. We want to get as many people, as many subscribers as we can, as possible on this channel, watching the videos that we do. I have got an absolutely amazing video coming up shortly. Hope we'll release it next weekend. But basically, I don't want to give too much away, but put it this way. In the new build, it blows the Ryzen out of the water. It's not a Ryzen chip. I don't want to give too much away, but put it this way. We can play Assassin's Creed at 60 FPS. And it will fit in the My64, and it works, and it's more quieter. It's just a great build. I can't wait to show it to you, but I don't want to give too much away. But yeah, so please subscribe, please turn notifications on, give us a good thumbs up for this video if you think it's good and we've done a good job of it, and we'll see you next time. But thanks very much for watching. Bye.